We're continuing on with a bone tissue, and we're in part 3, page 182. And what they're doing here is they're showing us a portion of a bone sort of blown up so that we can look carefully at what's going on with the bone matrix. First of all, we have the sort of larger overview of things here. Here's the bone, which is the gross anatomy feature of the bone right there. And then we have this sort of blow up right here that shows us this part of the bone, which is the dense bone matrix. And here we have the spongy bone through here. And you'll notice that this compact, dense portion of the bone is arranged in the circular, how shall I say, lamellas or canal regions. If you laminate a table, that means you've put a layer of something on the table. It's called laminated. If you laminate your credit card or your business card, then you have put a layer of something on it to preserve it. So these are sort of layers that go around each other. And how do they get laid down? They get laid down by something called an osteoblast. So the osteoblast is laying down matrix, and it actually gets caught in the matrix, at which point it sort of ceases to do its function, and it just takes a little rest in that location. Okay, we call that location a lacuna. Okay, a little place, a little nest for the cell to rest in. It will eventually get rescued. But meanwhile, there are these canaliculi right through here. Do you see the term canaliculi? And that means that there's what I call a VAN. I always abbreviate vein, artery, nerve as VAN. And the reason I do that is because anatomists in general abbreviate this as a Neurovascular Bundle, which I don't think is much of an abbreviation, but that's the idea, a Neurovascular Bundle. So when you take a look at this in gross anatomy in a cadaver, what you'll notice is that it's surrounded by connective tissue and looks like one single thing until you pick through the connective tissue and sort of peel it back, and then you realize, oh my goodness, there's 3 things in there. There's a nerve, there's an artery, and there's a vein. And they're all traveling together. And it's called a neurovascular bundle. Okay, so that means that all of these openings through here contain a neurovascular bundle. It's called the Aversion Canal or the central canal. Okay, so I might ask you a simple question like, if you were to fracture a bone, would it bleed? And yes, it would definitely bleed, because you would interrupt an artery and a vein. And the next question is, would it hurt? And the answer is, yep, it would hurt, because there's a nerve in there. Okay, so broken bones definitely hurt, and they definitely bleed. Just sort of a heads up. Don't break your bones unless you know, it's worth it. So, so out here we have the osteoblast. Now, osteoblasts are somewhat stimulated, not actually stimulated. It's a permissive action from calcitonin, but we'll leave it at that. When we get to chapter 16, we'll talk more about it. Then we have other cells here, which are glorified macrophages or monocytes that have left the bloodstream. And what they do is they phagocytize or eat. They have special enzymes, and they can actually metabolize bone matrix. The bone matrix is filled with calcium and phosphorus and other, how shall I say, significant materials of mineralized materials, right? And so it takes, some special digestive enzymes here on the part of the osteoclast. So macrophage, subset of macrophage is osteoclast. It is actually stimulated by parathyroid hormone. The reason that we need to have that stimulation is that sometimes our blood calcium levels go down. And we need calcium in the blood for a variety of reasons that we're going to be studying throughout this entire two-semester process. One is that we can't have how shall I say, the release of neurotransmitter for nerve function without calcium. Absolute requirement. Another absolute requirement is muscle twitch. Whether it's skeletal muscle or heart muscle, calcium is an absolute requirement for muscle twitch. So you can't use your muscles and you can't use your nerves without calcium to initiate the process. If you understand, so it's pretty important, right? No nerves, no muscles without calcium function. So we actually we have a little gingerbread house here in our bone structure, in a sense, except that instead of gingerbread, it's made out of calcium. And we go and we get some when we need it. Okay? Generally speaking, we're eating enough and we're able to maintain our bone structure. And occasionally, of course, we're always remodeling it. And then occasionally we'll need a little more in the blood. And the osteoclast will go over. And part of its job in terms of remodeling will be to release the calcium to the blood. Okay? So we have that situation. It looks like this when it's cooked out. You can see the little lacuna. There's nothing there anymore. This is just, how shall I say, mineral matrix of the bone itself. And so they like to show us this picture. Okay, now there's something else that you need to know here. We have this central canal called the Aversion Canal that goes back. You can see it going back. Do you see how they've demonstrated that right here? But then they can also communicate between each other. There's these little transverse buddies here. And they're called perforating or Volkmann's canals. Okay, so Aversion canals this way, which are also called central canals. And then we have the transverse canals this way, which are called perforating or Volkmann's canals. Okay, so everybody communicates. And these layers that get laid down one at a time, basically, when we have them all together this way, we have something that's referred to as an osteon. It's a group of layers, lamella, that surround a central canal, and taken together, they are referred to as an osteon. Okay, so now we know all about that.